We are in a big energy shift right now. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of emotional sensations, a lot of physical sensations, and a lot going on in the mind. So, what is being called to us right now is to find that connection back, mind, body, soul. So, being able to physically feel the things that are happening around you is usually the last thing that happens. So, the first sense of energy is coming through your spiritual self, your soul body, your energy, your aura. Then that's how we greet things, that's how we filter things, that's what we do first. After that, when we're not really sure what to do with it, or if it kind of skips through that process of, I'm using my intuition, I know what to do, I know what to do, if it gets to the next space, it's in our mental body. Then it's in our mind, right? So we're trying to figure out, how do I make sense of this? What does this mean? How do I do this? How do I get myself from A to B? And then you overthink it, or you just ruminate on it. And once it goes from there, if we haven't really, reached the goal of trying to figure it out mentally, it will then start to settle into our physical body. And so what that means is we're going to start to feel the sensations of that overdone energy that we didn't get to use our intuition and our energy with. It filtered and spilled into our mental body. And so now our emotions and our mental cognitive abilities have been taking over. And that has spilled into our physical sensation. So now you've got all of this stored energy from the last few weeks of really kind of big chaos, right? Because the last few weeks is energy that is a lot of things at the same time. Like the speed of time is just infinite. And so we tend to not slow things down in the month of June. We tend to really kind of keep up with the flow of time and things happening at that speed. And so once we get into the last week of June into July, we're starting to really process what that meant. So we're trying to feel what it feels like, where that's stuck or stored energy is sitting, and where in our body is it, so that we can start to move it. Now, right now, it's essential to ground, and we have heard the term before. Obviously, you've probably heard it a million times. Grounding our energy is essentially being able to connect to earth and have our body, mind, and soul connected as one, so that we are in full clarity, full alignment, and we are embodying everything it means to have a sense of self and a sense of identity. In an energy of chaos, and we're keeping up with the speed at which everything is coming, we slow it down by trying to kind of dig our heels in and try to make sense of it and try to think it over and try to slow it down by being in that mental body. If we keep it up and we just allow it to flow through our spiritual body, we have to lean more on our intuition and our trust in that. And sometimes that can be terrifying and scary. And for others, and or for anyone at different periods of time, it can be something that's so easy that, of course, this makes sense. Of course, I'm following my intuition. So right now, as we ease into the month of July, you're gonna start to have to shift in down gear from the speed at which we have been processing energy, that awareness that things are bottlenecked up in here in our body, mind, and soul, and that we need to release it to be able to get into an energetic frequency of that, which is going to be a lot more of self-love and personal identity, our personal power, our strength, our perseverance, our just general ability to become one with nature, to allow ourselves the unwinding of it all. But right now is a key time, because if we're not aware that you've gone from this energy to this energy, then you're going to be in this inner resistance. And that's going to create like a turmoil within you energetically, because your body, mind, and soul are kind of fighting right now to figure out if one can pick up the slack of the other, or which one is the one that's supposed to be kind of saving the day here. So being able to have awareness that you're in that shift right now is going to be key. And then knowing who you are. Your identity is hugely important. You need to know what works for you, because what works for you is going to be different than what works for someone else. It might be swimming, it might be hiking, it might be journaling, it might be art, it might be singing. It might be sitting and doing nothing. It might be spending time with friends and family. You need to know what works for you that allows you to feel connected. So if you are feeling like you have lost connection with other people, usually it's because we've lost connection with ourselves first, right? Because we are only connected to everything else when we are fully grounded and embodied within our own connection. So right now feels a little uneasy. So if you're aware of it, you know what works for you to find that reconnection back in, then you will be able to fully allow that energy to shift into that beautiful feeling of the energy that's about to come in the next coming days and weeks. And to allow that release from your physical body, that you're feeling those sensations. And just like a recap, I've always said, we first create everything with our spiritual body, our soul, our aura, our energy. When we are able to make those changes and those decisions and those experiences the way we want to, it comes easy. When we don't, and we're not trusting our intuition, we're not trusting our energy, we don't go with the flow, or we're not like a heck yes, we want to do this, and it feels like we're only doing it to please someone else, then it goes into our mental body. So our emotions and our mind start to kick in, and then we start to become really torn or emotional, or we overthink, or we get stuck. And when that doesn't figure itself out, then it starts to sit into the physical body, where we start to feel sensations, maybe like, tightening of the muscles, or you're being tense, or you feel like your heart's racing. Now, none of these things are at all like a medical diagnosis, but like when we're talking about energy, you can start to feel and sense with your physical body where your energy sits. Like I know for myself, like my energy will sit in certain parts of my body depending on what's happening. So in order to eliminate that, I try to get the energy to flow in and be able to use my energy from my spiritual body first. And then when I know I'm getting into my mind, my mental body, I have to have these things in place. So mine is meditation, the typical way you would meditate. I also like atypical ways, which is going for a drive, or singing, or stretching, or coloring, or doing a puzzle. Any of those things are really good for me too. So you don't always have to fall to what you would think is the traditional way of doing something. It really is what works for you, and that's all that matters. You and your connection with you, your identity, will all bring clarity for you as you navigate this energy that is coming up.